Welcome to your Daily Dose of Theological German. We are in our second installment looking at this new book here. We're looking at an excerpt from Gäbel's The Cult Theology of the Letter to the Hebrews. So it says, also here, or here also, Hebrews takes up, you could say, just to be wooden and literal, we'll come back to that, takes up the purification ritual, and I'm going to say here with reference to Numbers 19. So we have another fairly straightforward sentence here. However, there's a couple things to at least think about here because there's some important things for a translation that you could easily get wrong if you had this on an exam or some such thing. I've noticed oftentimes when you're at the beginning of a section in a German work, the sentences start out, the first two or three, they're pretty straightforward, single clauses, maybe, whatever it is. And then by the fourth or fifth sentence, all of a sudden it explodes into your typical multi-clause, confusing German sentence. So we're in the beginning stages. It's the honeymoon stage with this particular section of this particular book. But don't worry, it's going to get more complicated. In the meantime, let's just look at a couple of things here. We have a compound word, Reinigungsritual. Okay, so I think I pronounced that somewhat correctly. I don't know if you'd find this whole thing in your dictionary, but of course you would definitely find the first part of it. And so this is where it's very important to pay attention to your possible translations. Cleaning is not great. Dry cleaning for sure is not the translation you want to pick. Like that's just not going to work. What is this? Bowdlerization. Actually, I think you should pick that one just because. What kind of a word is that? Okay, the point is you'll notice down here that in religious contexts in particular, which as soon as you add something like ritual to it, you know that's what you're dealing with. And so, you know, purification is really what you want to use probably for this translation. So it's a purification ritual, and that's the way I translated it. Now, you might also have noticed that I was quite wooden when I translated this little constellation. And as in English, I mean, it's not always clear when a verb just has a preposition that comes after it and when it is somehow actually the whole verbal idea gets modified by the preposition in some kind of way, which is what in German is the effect of a separable verb. It's not always clear. Like technically, you could take this as the verb nehmen and the preposition auf. And syntactically, I don't see any reason why you can't do that actually, because then the rest of this phrase just becomes the object of the preposition. And so if you translate it that way, which is what I kind of did woodenly, then you would end up with a phrase that says, also here Hebrews takes up the purification ritual from Numbers 19. Well, that's actually fine, and what you'll discover is that even in that English expression, to take up is more than the sum of its parts. That's actually kind of the equivalent of a separable verb in English, because to take up can be used by metaphorical extension to refer to like something like you're going to take on the task of explaining something, right? Like or to pick up, you can say pick up as well would be another good translation. So if you look this up in the dictionary though, you don't really want to try to just say take up or whatever, because this is technically a separable verb, and so it can have a variety of different nuances. And when you look it up, you'll notice that, I mean, I've just listed the first six entries here, but there's like, I don't know, 14 or something in Collins Dictionary Online. And aufnehmen can mean a lot of different things, but I would actually just go with the first one, to pick up. Not in the sense of picking up something off the ground, but in the sense that we use that same expression in English figuratively when we are thinking about things like reference. And so that's what is in view here. Bezug tells you that we're dealing with some kind of reference. And so, you know, you pick something up that you've been talking about already. It's a way of thinking about referring to things. And so you could say, here also Hebrews refers to the purification ritual in Numbers 19. I mean, that would be kind of a smoothed out way of translating it. But if you want to really actually capture the verbs in question, you can just say picks up. I think here also Hebrews picks up the purification ritual, just like previous passages had been referring to it. Hebrews picks it up here in this passage again. I think that works quite nicely in English and gets the same sort of idea across. The last thing I just want to say is this here, Bezug, you should really know this by now. It showed up in a variety of episodes, and I just always like to point out it does not mean a pillowcase in these contexts. It's always reference, and that should be obvious because it's Numbers 19. I did translate this nach as with, and the only reason I did that is because I was trying to make a smooth phrase in English, because to deal with this Bezug, you kind of have to do that. It's talking about the purification ritual with reference to number 19, or after reference to number 19. It sounds too wooden, so with reference to Numbers 19, I think is the best way to put it. Otherwise, you could just say referred to in Numbers 19 or something like that. I mean, somehow it connects to Numbers 19, and so that's really the main idea that you're trying to get at. As always, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, all those good things. I hope you're finding these episodes helpful, and get ready, because with this particular series, we're getting close to some pretty difficult syntax.